So you may be asking yourself, am I ready to retire? Well, you may be closer than you think. After having a good financial plan and mastering some of these skills that we're going to go over in today's video. And number one is the unknown, right? You have your financial plan and it says that you're 90% ready to retire. The Monte Carlo looks good, 90% probability of success. And where do you go from here? So if you're feeling stress, here's some things that you can take a look at. Remember, you have control of things like your budget, your expenses, how much you're spending on a monthly basis. If you had to, could you generate some sort of side hustle, some sort of income that would help you out? So you got to remember that you are in control of several factors of your financial plan. So another thing, number two, that we need to learn to deal with is overcoming adversity. As we get older, it gets harder and harder to be able to, shake off things and just move forward. You tend to want to dwell on what's wrong instead of what's going right in your life. So, here about a year ago, I had a brain injury that left me to where I couldn't golf, I couldn't travel, heck, I couldn't even drive for a couple of months. And I was struggling to walk. My wife had to help me. Without my wife being there, I would have had to be put in assisted living or something like that. I couldn't even take a shower by myself for a while. So instead of, dwelling on the things I couldn't do, I worked hard and I rehabilitated, and I got to the point where I could swing a golf club, to where I could drive, to where I had some independence. And it took a few months, but we got back to where we could travel. And we ended up taking a couple of trips in 2024, that we probably wouldn't have been able to had I really dwelled on the things that were holding me back. So overcoming adversity, it's huge in retirement because things are going to go wrong. The stock markets are going to plunge. Your health is going to go sideways once in a while. You're going to have aches and pains that are going to keep you from being able to do things that you want to do. So try to overcome those adversities. So number three is maintaining friendships. And that's really important because, believe it or not, loneliness is right up there with anxiety, light smoking, and obesity when it comes to health hazards. So, you got to depend on those people around you and have those friendships so that you can be social. We're social animals as human beings. We are built to be around other people and talk to other people and interact. So maintain those friendships is a big key to being happy in retirement. All right, so I'd like to pause the video for a minute and ask you, if you would, go down into the comments and let me know where you're from. Let me know what stage of retirement that you're coming into, or whether you're already retired. All right, and number four is learn to manage cash flow. And I know that, well, what does that have to do with happiness? But you really, if you're not in a position financially, it can be tough in retirement, to go out and not worry about things. So some things you need to be able to do, you need to be able to cut wasteful spending. Just take a look at your budget and say, you know what, when times are lean, I can cut out this and this and this, and plan your big expenses carefully. If you're wanting to take those vacations, if you're wanting to, buy a new car, things like that, plan those carefully. Plan for Christmas. If you're going to spend a lot of money around Christmas, plan for that and try to save up a little bit at a time as throughout the year. That way, it doesn't come at the end of the year and you have those big credit card payments or those big credit card debts, because those can be really hard to deal with. And you need to be able to adapt your plans to, market volatilities, inflation, and things like that, because as we all know, things are volatile and they swing a lot. And the first part of your retirement and your go-go years, hopefully you have enough money that you can go ahead and you can just ride those out. But as you go through life and, things may tighten up due to economic reasons. So you need to be able to adapt to those. And if you have plans, if you have that, vacation of going to Europe this year, and things went sideways on you, you may have to postpone that until times are a little better, depending on what your financial situation is. All right, number 5 is stay motivated. The ability to stay motivated in retirement can be pretty tough. You have to have goals, you have to have hobbies. It's tough to get up in the morning when you don't have anything that you have planned for the day. If you don't have, I personally don't have a weekly schedule. I kind of have some things that are routine for me during the week that I kind of plan depending on the weather. And that's because I like to do a lot of outdoor things. So what I'll do is, I don't know what day of the week I'm going to shoot these videos, what day of the week I'm going to edit the videos. It all depends on weather forecasts for me. So that's kind of the way I've been doing it for over a year now. And it's worked out pretty good. Of course, the first part of my retirement was spent, or the middle part of my retirement so far was spent with a head injury. So I had about 4 or 5 months there that I wasn't very mobile and couldn't do much anything. But anyway, you need to have a reason to stay motivated. But number 6 here is the opposite of that, is don't get so motivated that you drive yourself crazy. All right, you can't schedule every minute of every day, and try not to have activities that are going to be really stressful on you, because that can be really hard on you and your happiness in retirement if you're going ahead and you have a stressful lifestyle. It can be really hard if you plan too many activities, or you plan a lot of activities that are stressful or hard and are set on, certain timelines. So try to make sure that you're not planning things that are going to drive you crazy. To put it in other words, you don't want to drive yourself crazy. So remember, retirement is your second act. Retirement is a time when you can reinvent yourself, when you can right those wrongs, your things that in your personality just aren't right. I have that struggle a lot because I was pretty ornery. I had a very stressful job, so I could get pretty ornery. So I had to battle against that and try to make yourself the person that you want to be. So hey, I hope this video's helped you, and if it has, watch this video next.